Hi, good afternoon, it's Gene from maverickstar Observatory. I wanted to talk about something I think is very important, and I really believe that a lot of people are missing the point. Before we do, I just want to say a quick thank you to our patrons and those people that help support the observatory. I know you realise that there's an importance to the work. It's a unique observatory, and we're covering probably one of the rarest anomalies that has happened ever in mankind's history. We're talking about obviously the magnetic North Pole migration, and possibly a completed reversal. Maybe not an excursion, because it is so long overdue. We are hoping it will be a completed reversal, because that will give us an indication that our core is still active. Because if we keep going through excursions, as we have done in the recent history of humanity and Homo sapiens, then it could be early signs of core solidification. And this is something that happened to Mars many years ago. When we look at the terraform on Mars, we see it has no water on its surface, but it has certainly the scars left by erosion over thousands of years through water flowing on that planet's surface. And it must have had also a healthy atmosphere. We know it did have a magnetosphere, but no longer does. So could the future and fate of our planet be going in accordance with what happened to Mars, is the question. But more importantly, I suppose, what affects us right here and right now is something I feel equally important, and that is attitude. When did we become so complacent about all what's going on in our world? It's like the Bible said, people would rather believe a lie than believe the truth. And trust me, the lies that spew out of the mainstream media, I think you'll agree with me, is incomprehensive. You can't comprehend it. They drive the narrative, and the sheeple follow. And these people, in my view, are completely and utterly dangerous to the rest of us. They're going about their daily business and life as though nothing is happening, and they are oblivious to the corruption and the lobbying that takes place at government levels. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually looked at the statistics as to how much corruption and backhanders and bribes led to probably half of the taxpayers' money being shared out amongst the rich. And we know who they are. These are the guys that drive Ferraris, Bentleys. They have their own private jet. They live in £100 million houses and don't seem to work, or have had a business that has enabled them to acquire that sort of funding. Just for instance, why do we not pay attention to manifestos when a party is running for election to take control of a government? I'm talking about Boris Johnson here in the UK, and it happens over there in the United States. There is no legal binding law that holds them accountable to their promises. It seems they can say what they want, and when they get elected, they can do what they want. It means they don't have to keep their word. And what really do we think of people that can't keep the word? Well, we say they're untrustworthy. This is what Boris Johnson's just done. And nothing's going to change as a result of him going back on his manifesto. He said he wouldn't raise taxes. He's just raised national insurance by, I believe, 1%. He said it's for, the NHS and the National Health Service. But the NHS is a skeleton of what it used to be 20 years in this country. The service that you received from the NHS was 80% better than what you receive today here in the UK. So there is a lot of money being poured into something, and the benefits of that something are becoming less and less and less. We're probably at 20%, I would say. So what really are they raising the funds for? Why are they raising the taxes when people are already being taxed 1/5? Now they want another 5%, so it will be 1/4 of their earnings. Why is it that we are so complacent that we allow this to happen? Why are we allowing the mainstream media to take control of the agenda with regards to lies, with regards to, man-made global warming? Do we not give any respect any more back to nature whatsoever? Do we not give any credit for the fact that, there was a time in the Earth's history where CO2 was at 90% plus levels, and through algae, zooplankton, microscopic sea organisms, they was able to scrub that atmosphere over time, clean, and in turn oxygenate our atmosphere to the reservoir we have today, 20%. If you watch occasionally on this channel, you'll see that we do an Earth Health at a glance. We take CO2 readings. We've got the equipment to do that. We've got, state-of-the-art oxygen sensors, the Luminox, and we get accurate readings of the main anomalies that are taking place, such as the amount of volcanoes that are erupting, the largest earthquake in the last 24 hours, all those sorts of things. You can find them and the archives on our website. You can also see the archives of the Trimag and the magnetic North Pole migration, as well as other stations that we've got internationally around the world. I say it time and time again, we don't just talk here on this channel, we're proactive. We actually build the equipment and find out the answers for ourselves. Is CO2 a problem? Absolutely not. I'm a scientist. I'm sticking my neck out on the line, and I'm telling all these other government advisors that they need to put their head in some water and seriously swill it, because they're talking nonsense. These people that believe the world's oceans are rising because of global warming, melting the ice caps, are dreamers. In fact, the ice caps are regaining. Shouldn't come as a surprise that this Earth goes through cycles. Sometimes the CO2 levels will creep up and then they'll go back down. But the reality is, like I said in yesterday's video, CO2 levels are at dangerously low levels. And yet the governments say that they're at dangerously high levels. Who are these government scientists that are, supporting this information and advising the governments on it globally? The Paris Agreement, it's just nothing but a group of billionaires that are coming up with ways to create new industries so that they can say it is in the benefit of the future generations, because it will lead to a cleaner environment and it will reduce global warming. We have these activist groups, Rebellion Extinction, and I just ask the question, has any one of those members got a CO2 detector to work out how much CO2 is actually in the atmosphere? Do they do it daily? Do they do it weekly? Do they even do it at all? Or are they just regurgitating the news that they hear and becoming hyperactive on that information without checking the facts, and just, is it like 100 monkeys? We live in a crazy world, and there are some crazy people, and the time where there used to be some due diligence, expressed and shown, it doesn't seem like there is any anymore. 90% of the world's population will go along with what they see on TV without questioning it. That is shocking. If these organisations was truly interested in the best interests of anyone and really wanted to save, damage costs, like we saw in the United States the other day, rising above 50 billion, not million, 50 billion, as floods, tore apart states in the United States. and devastated people, left them homeless, left them without possessions. You would think that those governments would invest in all types of observatory. But you know what they do? They silence them instead. And you have to ask the question is, why are they doing that? What is in their method? What is their agenda? What are they benefiting from keeping quiet these observatories like ours? Keeping the people dumbed down. Leaving them completely vulnerable to these situations that can arise. We live in crazy times, guys, honestly. And there is only a few that really care enough to do something about it. It takes really brave people to, their hard-earned money to donate to a little observatory like ours. It takes really brave people to do that, to step up to the line and say, you know what, we want to keep the truth. We want to keep this little beacon of light going and shining, because there is a hell of a lot of darkness in this world. The only way we can continue doing it, and it really needs to, more than ever, change right now. We need to go up a gear on the funding for this observatory, and we need to do a lot more. We are getting closer to a pinnacle point where things could change very rapidly. And you would think that people would fund that so that they could stay informed of one of the biggest anomalies that's taking place in the last 780,000 years history of this planet. We are here. We're brand new. We've never been in the game before. This is the first time humanity experiences an event of this kind. And there are some, nice possibilities that could happen, that could come out of this. There are some terrible possibilities that could come out of this. But I will say this, we haven't even reached halfway point yet. What we've seen on the news in the last 4 months, with all the floods that have taken place around the world, early forest seasons starting, burning away thousands of hectares of land, it is only the start of what is to come, I guarantee you. And at this point, the governments around the world are defending something that is irrelevant. And I'm talking about CO2, global warming. Because if any scientist had anything about them, they would say things only fall from the skies like precipitation when there is cold meeting warm, humid air that holds a lot of water moisture. And when it drops in such a fast quantity, it's because a large amount of cold air entered, or a large amount of jet stream that is coming from the polar regions entered that warm, humid air, and it caused it to drop, probably a year's worth of rain in 6 or several hours. And the other thing is that we've been so complacent to build on, previous floodplains. Just because they haven't flooded in the last 100 years does not mean nothing. It takes thousands of years to make valleys erode from, the natural processes of precipitation and water movement. Just because it hasn't happened in 100 years is no security for you to start building houses on there now that might have been standing in those danger zones unknowingly for the last 50 years. Doesn't mean that they can't flood those regions. The planning departments around the world should be held accountable for allowing, development in these sites if these disasters strike. If these 1 in 100 years floods strikes, it should be the local authorities that pick up the bill for it, and not, the individual. But we see it's always the individual. It's because we've become complacent and we accept bad behaviour. And where do we draw the line on this behaviour? Do we just carry on? We're not going to care about our future generations anymore? Do we want them to live in an even further corrupt society and world? Most of us think that we're incapable of doing it, but there is that saying always in the back of my mind, strength in numbers. You can change policies, and you can put pressure on government, and you can remove governments, but you can't do it on your own. That's true. You know, I really hope a few more people appreciate what we do at this observatory, and we try and secure a little bit more funding, because we really struggled last month. I just don't want to keep seeing a repeat month in, month out, because I like to try and remain optimistic about what we do here at this observatory. I know it does serve a purpose for a lot of people, but a lot of people are just, you know, taking the information and not supporting. You know, 15,000 views on the website, 140,000 views on YouTube, and yet we have equipment and we are an observatory, international observatory, and we don't take any corporate funding whatsoever, and that should show you what all our integrity is about here at the observatory. It's about delivering an honest account of what we record and see with the equipment we use, using the scientific method. So, you know, I'll just briefly mention the link down there if you want to help support. You know, it'd be gratefully appreciated. And the only thing is, you know, guys, give me your opinions on some of the things I've covered in this video. How do you feel about, you know, the way the world is going and the behaviour of people, and what do you think the outcome will be? Guys, link down in the description if you want to help support us, and, you know, take care of your loved ones. I'll say what I usually do. Bye for now.